All right, friends, let's get back into American Miscellany. This book was published in 1865, and I've never read it, so I'm reading it for the first time along with you guys. And so I'm often surprised by the content of these essays. Our last essay was all about Switzerland, and it wasn't just a nice little essay on Switzerland. We kind of took a hard right down the road of social injustice and a wee bit of genocide. So hopefully we can kind of lighten things up a little bit. Our next essay is about courtship, of all things. And we're here on page 202 of American Miscellany, and we're reading essay number 82, Courtship. We have seen how little there is deserving the name of courtship in savage life, of either the present or the past. It is only amid the refinements of enlightened nations that the delights of making love are of common enjoyment. In Asia, in Africa, and in much of Europe, marriage is preceded by none of these delicate attentions and affectionate interchange of sentiments, which form the proper prelude to the matrimonial engagement. Even in the politest nations, as among the most barbarous, the marriages are affairs of convenience, in which fortune, position, everything is consulted but the sentiments of those who are taught to submit in a manner of such a vital moment to parental dictation. Thus, in France as in Java, young persons meet for the first time in their lives to be indissolubly united by the marriage tie. Spain was long the land of gallantry and chivalry. After the ancient customs of confining women with bolts, bars, and duennas had finally given way, a romantic gallantry was carried to the highest pitch, and love became the brightest picture of Spanish life. Though women have long since been permitted to have choice in affairs of the heart, there was still preserved a decorum of manners which prevented a Spanish lady from being alone with her lover. The consequence is a resort to every ingenious device by which a glowing passion may find expression. The Spanish lover writes out his adoration in sonnets and sets his affection to music. At night he sings his love lays under the lattice of his lady. Or, if not himself gifted with musical abilities, he hires artists who are able to do justice to the ardor of his passion. The colder the air without, the more the serenade supposed to warm the heart of the lady within. As pity is supposed to lead directly to love, the Spanish suitor stays night after night, heaving deep sighs and casting piteous looks towards the window, satisfied, yes, supremely blessed, if he receives the slightest signal of acknowledgment in return. In Spain, love is full of sentiment, a delicious madness, which for the time absorbs all other feelings. A Spanish lover scarcely thinks, speaks, or dreams of any but his mistress. Not only does his devotion to her appear like idolatry, but he is ready to encounter any peril or to engage in any combat to manifest the strength of his attachment. He is ready to punish her enemies, fight his rivals, or do battle with the world at large in his sweet mistress's cause. But his choicest opportunity for signaling his courage and conduct under the very eyes of his mistress is in the bullfight, the national festival of Spain and all Spanish countries. There, surrounded by the whole public, and sure that his mistress is watching him, as Hudibras has it. That's Hudibrus. Hudibras has it. He obtains the noblest spouse, who widows greatest herds of cows. Clever. This notion of exciting love by bringing into play the emotion of pity or sympathy has been made use of in Spain in still more remarkable manner. It was once the custom in Madrid and other chief cities of Spain for large companies of people who called themselves disciplinants or whippers to form a procession throughout the public streets every Good Friday, attended by the religious orders, courts of law, and sometimes by the royal court. The whippers were arrayed in high sugar loaf hats, white gloves and shoes, and waistcoats with ribands of colors preferred by the mistresses of their affections, and were armed with whips of small cords, to the ends of which were fastened bits of wax, in which were inserted pieces of glass. The whole city, and especially the ladies, were spectators of this procession, and as it passed along, he who whipped himself hardest felt sure of winning the favor of his Dulcinea. When they passed a beautiful woman, someone was sure to whip himself in such a manner as to sprinkle her with his blood, an honor for which she returned suitable acknowledgments. And when any lover of this train passed the window where his mistress was sitting, he began to lay on the whip with redoubled fury, while the lady felt complimented by such proofs of devotion. The lively Lady Montague gives an account of a somewhat similar scene she witnessed in Constantinople, a procession when the Sultan was going out to take command of the army. The rear of the procession, says Lady Mary, was composed of volunteers who came to beg of the Sultan the honor of dying in his service. They were all naked to the middle. Some had their arms pierced through with arrows left sticking in them. Others had them sticking in their heads, while the blood trickling down their faces. Some slashed their arms with sharp knives, making the blood spring out upon the bystanders, and this is looked upon as an expression of their zeal for glory. And I am told that some make use of it to advance their love, and when they come near the window where the mistress stands, all the women being veiled to see the spectacle, they stick another arrow for her sake, which gives some sign of approbation and encouragement to this kind of gallantry. In England and Scotland there were formerly customs less barbarous, perhaps, but scarcely less objectionable, that, for example, of drinking toasts to all the beauties admired by the members of a convivial party, when she whose lover drank the most was the reigning toast. These, however, are the eccentricities of the tender passion. Courtship in Italy, as in Spain, has much the romance of a deep passion, and it is often protracted to a great length, that its pleasures may be enjoyed the longer.